Well, hello there. I made it. Better a bit tardy than never, I guess. Welcome to today's session on Canadian history, the dark side. And today we're going to be covering the siege at the Long Sault. And of course, during our session, we'll take a look at a bit of the history as well as a little bit of the coinage that might have been used during that time and give you a little bit of the insights on what exactly went on there. And of course, I always like to start off with a video that shows a little bit on what actually went on at that site, and we can add some of the darker details that they don't typically teach in schools. So, with that, I want to welcome everybody today. We'll Of course, I see Black Money Corporation. I always love seeing that gentleman on online, and I also look forward to seeing people like Christopher Ty, who's just popped up. I'll give it a minute or two here. Let everybody say, "Oh, the old skipper is up and about." But yeah, as soon as we get a few more in here, I'll kickstart that video, and then we can take a little bit about or learn a little bit about the siege at the Long Sault. Uh, Last week, I initiated the new series, but still in the growing pains. I'm still trying to get a little bit of the bugs out because the old skipper, he's an old fart and he's trying to learn these things. And of course, I'm also going to be looking forward to seeing some of my friends out there that are acting as moderators pop up once they're available. Uh, Chaps like Austrian Stacker and my good old buddy Dale from Coin World UK. I'd love to see him come back. Uh, Gee, it's always nice to see so many wonderful people. I'll probably be doing this same time, 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time every week. But also, you'll notice that a good number of uh, shorts are going to be put on the Canadian coinage. This is what my contribution is going to be is strictly Canadian, and any of my fellow numismatists can add their part. So if we want to talk about U.S. or British or Austrian or world, they'll have that opportunity. But primarily, we're going to be looking at the Canadian side of the house. And and here's a homage to my buddy Marlon, who, as many of you know, has a wonderful channel, and he's always on Sundays. And that's he's Marlon at on the Treasure Hunters, and I'm going to enjoy my cup. Mm. Okay, let's see if I can get this kick started and take a look at our quick video here on the Battle of Long Sault. Okay, got that right. Uh, as you can see in the video, um, he was Dollard was cast as a hero. He was protecting the settlers against the Iroquois, and there's uh, 300 of them apparently were supposed to. This is the whole might of the Iroquois Nation, and uh, it's interesting that as time progresses and more people do research, they find the motivating uh, factors behind these sort of things. It's quite interesting to see exactly what was going on. So let's take a deep dive into seeing exactly what transpired during that period and what might have been going on that would cause this situation to transpire. Now, we'll take a look at this, and now you got to understand, as they portray it, there 17 young Frenchmen were against the might of the Iroquois Nation. That's the familiar story. Um, uh, and that's what every Canadian student had been taught for years. But in the case of Adam Dollard and his gallant little band at the Long Sault, 300 years of repetition had failed to tarnish their heroic image. And although the records vary as to precise dates and the numbers of those involved, it is generally accepted that in April of 1660, a widely respected Huron chieftain named Anahota decided to lead only 39 of his tribesmen on a search and destroy mission against the Iroquois, expecting to encounter Iroquois hunting parties in the St. Lawrence and Ottawa valleys above Montreal. The Hurons canoed up the St. Lawrence River to Trois-Rivières, where they met 4 Algonquins under the command of another well-known chieftain, Mitowemeg. This joining of forces brought the total number of the party to 44. In the meantime, unknown to Anahota and Mitowemeg, Others were planning a sortie against the Iroquois. For in Montreal, a relatively recent arrival from France, a certain young fellow of good family called Adam Dollard reputedly was inspired to seek glory as to atone for some undisclosed indiscretion in the old country. The manner in which he chose to redeem himself was a small expedition against any Iroquois hunting parties which might be ambushed above Montreal. Now, who sounds like the aggressor here? Not at all, however, were impressed by Dollard's scheme, among those dissenting being Charles Le Moyne, Picotte de Bellestre, and Lambert Closet. Well versed in the art of Indian warfare, both Le Moyne and Bellestre stressed the importance of waiting until reinforcements could improve the situation and their chances of success. And also, spring planting had to be completed as well at that time. So it was all something that they had to deal with. Now, Dollard was fully aware of that the stronger force would undoubtedly mean the appointment of a commander with greater seniority, and convinced that the element of surprise would compensate for lack of men. And they disagreed on all this. Worried that his chance for fame was about to slip through his fingers, he hastily persuaded 16 countrymen of equally reckless character to follow him against the Iroquois. When Sieur de Maisonneuve gave them his blessing, the adventurers proceeded to take an oath to the effect that they would stand together to the death, confess and receive communion, and write their wills. Thus armed for the fray, they set out near the end of April in search of the Iroquois and glory. Now, traveling only at night in order to avoid being sighted by the enemy, they continued deep into enemy country. Despite their precautions, they encountered Iroquois at the Îles Saint-Paul, where some days earlier 3 Frenchmen had been killed by Indians. This skirmish, which ended with the Iroquois fleeing without their canoe or goods, although without casualty to either side, is said to have been given heart to one of the 17 Frenchmen who was about to abandon the quest. After this brief but successful baptism by fire, the raiders experienced a new obstacle. Their experience with the canoes making their attempts to navigate the swollen rapids of St. Anne, where the Ottawa River flows into the St. Lawrence, exceedingly difficult and time-consuming. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever been to these areas in and around the St. Lawrence River, and especially the Ottawa River, which I've had occasion to go on. That river is full of rapids. In fact, back in the day, they even used to do a lot of logging down there. And if any of you had the occasion to see the vignette that Canada put out called the Log Driver's Waltz, that was shown in the Ottawa River, and they were taking logs down through the rapids. Very interesting stuff. And carrying on here, let's take a quick look at chat and see how chat's doing here. We're having a good Sunday so far. And Jeff Crumpler, hi, how are you doing? And yes, happy Memorial Day to all those that are in the United States. I just did a short on Memorial Day from a Canadian perspective, because Memorial Day for you guys started just after the Civil War, which is quite interesting. Whereas we celebrate Remembrance Day up here November 11th. Anyway, not to diverge too far from it, we're talking about an interesting thing called the Siege at the Long Sault, and exactly get some ideas as to what exactly happened during that time frame. Again, a lot of it is the actual information is not as clear, especially to the young scholars who are learning about this in school. There's always an underlying reason for these people to do what they did. So I'm going to carry on here and look at some of the other things that went on. Hold on a second here. Because I'm so well. There we go. We'll send him to voicemail. There we go. One day I'll be able to get this so that everything is working just the way I want it. Because I'm still a learner. Okay, there's a good one. Okay, we'll briefly take a look at Frontenac. Count de Frontenac was a soldier, statesman, and governor. Frontenac fondled the children, feasted the squaws, and won over the warriors with lavish gifts, then warned, if your father can come so far with so great a force through such dangerous rapids, merely to make you a visit of pleasure and friendship, what would he do if you should awaken his anger and make it necessary for him to punish his disobedient children? Well, that's the kind of people that were doing things that were not quite as nice as you might think. And he was a real supporter of what was going on at the Long Sault. All right. So I left off. So placed and worse off than in the smallest village house in France, the expedition prepared to meet the enemy, dispatching scouts in search of Iroquois hunting parties. It was here that they joined by Chiefs Anatoa and Mitawemek and their followers, thereby increasing the force to 61 men. The Hurons Algonquin had learned of Dollard's expedition at Montreal when, jealous at being thus anticipated and astounded at the audacity of such a small band, they begged Monsieur de Maisonneuve for a note to Dollard so that he might do them the favor of admitting them into his party, and so with them undertake some great enterprise. So essentially, they're looking to get on the good side so that they're not the ones being attacked, and they might get something out of it. And you got to remember, the tribes were fighting against one another, but there was minor skirmishes, and so essentially, you're stirring up a hornet's nest. Rather than being delighted at the opportunity of swelling Dollard's thin ranks, Maisonneuve was extremely reluctant to agree to their request, evidently preferring a small number of men of tried bravery to Ware's larger and small numbers of men of tried bravery. And but he at length agreed that with their proposal, writing them a letter of introduction in which he cautioned the young officer against placing too much reliance upon the Indians, rather to act as if they had only Frenchmen with them. So in other words, they showed up, but they weren't really they were nobodies. They essentially were there, but not there. So in due course, the Huron Algonquin party arrived at the Long Sault when all, now 60 strong, settled to the wait for the sign of the enemy. They did not have to wait long, for almost immediately 2 of the Hurons serving as scouts rushed back to camp to report that they had seen Iroquois scouts beating a hasty retreat after having spied upon their camp. Despite the Hurons' effort, the Iroquois had escaped, taking with them word of Dollard's force. This left those at the Long Sault with an agonizing dilemma. Several of the Hurons argued that the Iroquois, now warned of their presence, had 2 courses open to them. If few in number, they simply had to avoid the Long Sault, but in force, the situation presented the opportunity to annihilate an enemy expedition. Okay, that's very interesting. Now, Dollard was anxious for more time so as to strengthen their defenses by cutting down some trees, agreed upon the provisions that the Iroquois withdrew across the river. This ended a brief discussion. Realizing his intention, the Iroquois returned to his men. Those within the stockade took advantage of the continuing lull and stuffed cracks and gaps in the palisades with whatever came to the hand: tree branches, rocks, and sods of earth. When the Iroquois charged, the defenders' efforts had been sufficient enough to enable them to beat off the attack without casualty. The enemy was, however, repulsed at heavy cost, leaving them many of them dead in the field. Dollard's men adding insult to injury by cutting off the head of a fallen chieftain and impaling it at the top of the stockade. Thus it went for even 7 incredible days, the French, Hurons, and Algonquins holding the fort against constant threat of attack. The Iroquois, for their part, had initially decided upon a war of nerves, simply keeping those within the stockade on edge by feigning attacks. When they charged for a second time, the results were the same as before: more Iroquois dead and jubilation on the part of the French defenders. But those within the fort were paying a price also, for supplies and ammunition were dwindling. Earlier, their lack of water had been solved somewhat when they scooped out a shallow well in the corner of the stockade, thereby eliminating the hazardous duty of venturing outside to obtain water from the river. Worse, with each passing day, the Huron braves were becoming increasingly unnerved. Every hour, they argued, increased the chances of the Iroquois being reinforced. Whereas at the present time, their enemy outnumbered them by about 3 to 1, likely less, as so many had been killed. They could not possibly withstand attack for such a long time, and could only be assumed that those laying siege to their stockade had relayed word to others. Despite his men's growing anxiety, Anatola had succeeded in keeping a lid on their discontent for a week, when the arrival of 500 further Iroquois warriors from the mouth of the Richelieu provided open revolt among his followers. Faced with mutiny, Anatola informed Dollard that he intended to send 2 Huron envoys to parley with the Iroquois, bearing gifts. The men were greeted warmly due to the fact that many of the opposing force were also Hurons. You can see this is getting to be quite the mixed bag of tribes. As those within the stockade watched, several of the Iroquois advanced to exhort those Hurons within to join them. Moments later, defying Dollard's and Anatola's orders, every one of the Hurons, all but Anatola, leapt over the wall and ran towards the enemy. When Dollard, alarmed and angered, gave the order to fire, a deadly volley erupted from the fort, cutting down many of those standing before it, Iroquois and Huron alike, in violation of the truce. At this, the Huron leader is said to have sighed in resignation. "Ah, comrades, you have spoilt everything. You ought to have waited the result of the council our enemies were holding." Other accounts state that among those who deserted was Anatola's own nephew, at which the chieftain had been so incensed that he fired his pistol at his fleeing kinsman but missed. Whether, in fact, Dollard had much choice in the face of mass desertion remains a moot point. It would only seem probable that the Iroquois, their ranks tripled by the arrival of 500 men, and heartened by the desertion of 1/3 of Dollard's little force, would have pressed on with their assault. Whatever enraged by Dollard's lack of etiquette, they resolved to take the stockade at any cost. By this time, the Iroquois, informed by surviving Huron deserters as to the exact strength and weakness of the defending force, knew that their own small army, composed of a minimum of 700 warriors, faced but a handful of desperate men. 17 young Frenchmen, 1 Huron, and 4 Algonquins, odds of 40 to 1. Inflamed by their number of dead to date and anticipating imminent victory, the Iroquois charged in mass. Hunched behind crudely made wooden shields, they charged across the clearing before the fort as the defenders poured volley after volley of musket into their ranks. One by one, the leaders of the advance fell, and the bodies of their fallen comrades ended up just as stepping stones until the invaders were at the foot of the stockade. In desperation, the French fashioned crude grenades by loading 2 pistol barrels with powder and hurling them into the closely packed Iroquois, who were by this time using their axes to back away at the thin palisade to fell trees against the stockade, causing thereby much confusion. Chaos ensued when Dollard attached a fuse to a keg of gunpowder and charged it and carried it to the ramparts and attempts to throw it over the wall as a bomb. Had it, in fact, exploded among the amassed Iroquois, the damage would have been awesome. Instead, those responsible for the missile, either weakened by hunger or wounded, struggled to launch it upon those below, only to have it catch upon a tree branch and fall back among their own men inside the fort. With a devastating roar, the bomb exploded, leveling not only Iroquois but Frenchmen and Indian ally with lethal effect. The Iroquois, quick to see their opportunity, scaled the walls and attacked those still standing and reduced to their swords hand to hand. Despite this calamity, that's the bomb, of course, every man defended his corner with sword and pistol in the most lion-hearted way, but their fate was sealed. The brave Dollard at length killed, and still the courage of the men was still as high as ever, or so they say. They rather sought than feared so fine an end, as they say. At the palisade went in one place, hurled himself into the breach, saber and axe in hand. Well, the more I'm reading this, the more I'm realizing just how absolutely futile this whole thing was. They instigated it, and it. No one knew who sided with who. It was a bloody dog's breakfast. Yes, there's virtually nothing left of Dollard's stockade after this whole fiasco had finished. And for Adam Dollard, Sir d'Ormeau and his brave hand, there was martyrdom as saviors of Montreal because of what they'd sacrificed on this field of battle. And again, using the exploits of a battle, it ended up being not exactly what it should have been. No, it was only the French in the fort that had any cannon. The those that were attacking were not. They were basically shields, some muskets, primitive weapons and axes. That was it. Trying to get this wonderful picture. Yeah, there's this. It's terrible what went on. There we go. That's from what I can tell is that it was essentially a massacre, and that's all it was. Despite the fact that they tried to make this guy a hero, and he didn't even really explain why he wanted to do this, other than the fact that they figured that he had some sort of vendetta over being misjudged or what did they say? There's nothing more sorely felt than an imputation against one's honor. So he decided to take it out on somebody else, and that's the sad part. Yet if you want to see statues of Dollard and this battle, go to Montreal. They have the statues that are still there today, and that's essentially the siege of Long Sault, and it was not a glorious battle with a bunch of martyrs. It was essentially a bunch of people who were looking to expand their and to build themselves up at the expense of others, and that's really too bad. And we still see things like that today, but that happened in Canada, and that's of course it's prior to the English taking on North America and Canada. But that's it shows exactly what kind of world that they lived in. Be thankful that we're not living in one that's quite as brutal as that. No, no. At this point in history, the British were not involved in this whatsoever. It was New France, so it's earlier, much earlier. So I'm limited to the information that I've gathered here, and again, I will enhance my reading skills as I go along. The one of the things that I've learned in my old age is not just how much is retained up here; it's knowing where to obtain the information and try to make sure it's as factual as possible. Very interesting point. And he's not talking about the Confederacy in the United States. There was an Indian Confederacy. I find it really hard to say Indian anymore because in Canada that's considered derogatory. You can go south of the border. You want to go below the 49th parallel. The Aboriginals down there are still referred to as Indian, whereas up here, you're First Nations here. And you don't, and heaven forbid if you refer to them as belonging to a tribe, because I lived next to the Iroquois Nation here, and when I went into the band office, I slipped of the tongue, and I ended up they have a cuss box. I ended up putting some money in the cuss box because nope, we're not a tribe. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to hit the like button, folks. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. And that is what is considered the historical viewpoint. That yeah, they thought the Iroquois were sending a war party to Montreal, but what was the intentions of Dollard wasn't so much that he was trying to make a name for himself. But that's a good point. That's exactly how it's portrayed. If you go to Montreal, that's what you're going to hear exactly. The whole battle though was an absolute mess, and it was a massacre. It was they stood firm. A lot of people died, and in the end, no one knew who was fighting for who, other than the French. Hello, Copper Owl Coins. How you doing? Yeah, we'll take a quick look at some coins. Yeah, we didn't have the British money back then. We were looking at utilizing the French currency. And these are some samples of the French currencies that were used at that time. Have any of you seen any of this? Well, I'll get rid of that banner. Yeah, it's been a while, but it's certainly nice to have you on board. Oh, there we go. Take different looks at this. Why are we working? There we go. There we go. Oh, it looks like someone's done a little bit of chipping away on those ones. The other currency that they used cards, playing cards for money. And of course, with the French regime, 9 dinars, 1722H. It's quite an interesting looking coin, but again, predates the time when the British took over North America. Have any of you got anything like this in your collection as far as coins go? Oh, that is sad. Yeah, that is sad. Thanks for sharing that with us. That yeah, isn't it true that during the course of history that trying to provide power for the various countries and whatnot, though they flood areas that uh, have major archaeological significance, like the Aswan Dam. I mean, so it's too bad that they never got to do something there. Oh, got an Irish coin from 1765. That's cool. A 1798 large cent. Where did you manage to find that at Copper Owl Coins? That's quite significant. You found one metal detecting. Oh man. Unfortunately, I'm now living out west, and we do find a few period pieces, but most of the stuff is relatively new out here. Unless, of course, yeah, might be. I should see if we can metal detect around places like Fort Whoop Up and whatnot. But again, it still wouldn't date to that period. Yeah. A lot of the bank tokens are made available that you can get a hold of, but it's I actually do not have a single Canadian bank token. Wow, you found that in a shop. That's pretty good. Yeah, usually when I go, we have the same things here in Edmonton. The coin shops are have typically have the assortment of coins you can dig through, and but I'd never find anything like that there. A lot of cheap world coins that they're you know basically a poorer condition, but Nothing neat. Oh, one of these days, you guys have to share us some time here and show us your coins. That'd be good. Wow. So I take it that are you living fairly close to Montreal then? There. Yeah. I'm gonna have to get my son to help me set up this thing so it's a little bit uh, more fluid. Because again, this I'm doing this as a hobby. I'm just uh, having fun with it in retirement, and coin collecting is definitely a passion of mine. But the historical part is the part that I enjoy the most. Um, whether and Canada's got such a rich history, but a lot of it isn't dealt with. There's that history that's taught in school, but they don't. A lot of it's not. It's the under, and that's the tough part is trying to find the information that would add a little bit of significance to the stories and find out what are the underlying reasons for these events to take place, and exactly how brutal could they be. Um, when I look at the siege at Long Sault, that's to me, even though it might have stopped a major war party going in and killing a lot of settlers, especially in the Montreal area, uh, what how was this exactly fought? Uh, Despite my poor reading skills, what I'm seeing in this is that uh, it was a large number, but they kept when you start seeing that it was essentially brother against brother. You saw how they mix match back and forth and decided changing their allegiance, and the desperation involved was insane. Um, so you ended up with this huge mass of humanity laid out all over the fields, and a fort burning, and uh, it's really a sad thing to contemplate that something like that would happen, especially on Canadian soil. And of course, you got to still realize that these are the original peoples of this country that had, they did have disagreements, they did have tiffs back and forth, but no major wars. But it was kind of like it's like priming the pump. Suddenly, everything starts flowing. Well, you've got uh, cultures coming in, and for whatever reason it might be, fur trade or whatever, um, stirring up the pot and causing these people to fight. And this is where you got into a lot of these horrible massacres and retributions taking place, and murdering settlers, and it's just, I won't call it human nature, but it certainly is significant in our species to do these horrific things. Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. The oldest one I have is a silver denarius from Mark Antony's Legion. That's the oldest one I have. But as far as great, I'm trying to build my British coin collection up. My U.S. one, I ended up, and I could kick myself. I ended up selling my entire U.S. collection last year, and so I'm now in the process of cataloging and recollecting. See, a lot of these I haven't even sorted through yet. Re- Building up my U.S. collection right from scratch. And boy, oh boy, I will say this for the Americans: they have a lot of coins. Yeah, Christopher Ty's got a good question. He's asking copper coins. Do you have any Roman or Greek? The classical numismatics is a tough hobby. If any of you even delved into it, you'll find you either love it or you don't. And uh, I'm not into classical numismatics, but if I have a chance to own a few, I will, as long as the attributions are done first and it's that they're reputable. Because you know, you can be sitting there and using Wild Winds or some books trying to identify these things, and they are tough to identify, especially if you know if it's a weak strikes. Uh, it's really hard to identify them, but they are really nice, and they're a conversation piece, mind you. So every chance I get, I'll try to get a hold of something to add to my collection on that side. But some hardcore, that's all they do is nothing but ancient coins. And the thing that I was told, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the collectors of ancient coins do not like seeing those old coins in flips. They say they're to be handled. And actually I had that in the Numismatic Society meeting. Chap came along and he put this beautiful coin in my hand. It was absolutely pristine, and it was an ancient. But he slapped it in my hand and said, "What? Why isn't this?" He says, "No. Those are to be handled. You take a look." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is cool. Wow, this is a nice coin. Oh, wow." So it's quite a bit different. Yeah, me too. Just a few. Where does the saying wooden nickel derive? Wooden nickel. You know what? I've not been asked that question before. I am aware that there were wooden nickels, but I cannot tell you. Can anybody help Black Money Corporation and give them an idea that where that came from? Yeah, it's true. They're not as expensive as one might think. I can actually go down to my coin shop here and pick up, you know, not the best specimen, but even 50, $60 with the attribution done, which is really sweet. And yeah, I'll put it in. I have a tray that's specific for the ancients. It's really cool. Are there any other questions out there you might want to share with the folks that are in chat and me? I'll do the best I can. Again, my specialty is primarily Canadian, so that's the sort of thing that I delve on. Those of you that do collect the Canadian coins, remember that the new Charlton is out for 2024. Uh, I don't know how many of you switch your books out. Even though holding on to the old books are fine, I send my older books to my grandson, who's I got into the hobby, and I try to update my books every single year, and even like books like this, the Coins of Canada. This one I don't like as much as the Charlton, but it's still a handsome book. Um, United States, of course, they have their red book, and for the dealers, you got your gray sheets, and those are actually pretty good. You should also don't be afraid of picking up um, some of the used books if you're into the paper money. I picked up a volume that must weigh 10 pounds, that for shows all the different paper currencies across the world. Again, it's not good for figuring out what the value of the currency is, but it does have a lot of information on the currency itself, and that's handy, including identifying different types of currency and whatnot. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm actually featuring on my channel here, uh, and I've started off with showing the various uh, small cents and large cents, and I'm working my way through every denomination that I have. Um, it's We're lucky in Canada that we have a outfit like Lighthouse who has their Vista albums, and if you look inside those albums, they're very similar to the Dansko albums. I don't really like the exterior of them. I think I have one here. Um, yeah, there's okay. This is my large 1 cent, and what's beautiful about these is, of course, they're all identified, and it's got details on the inside of the cover, and on the back cover you can even look up your key dates, which is very cool. The only sad part about the Lighthouse ones is that they stopped putting the dates after 2016, so they're blank after that, which is sad. So I use a label maker. It's not as pretty, but at least it's there. These are the best we have, I think, in Canada, for if you're not getting into the slabs. Those are a wonderful thing to have to sort out your collection. Also, don't hesitate to utilize either online services for cataloging your collection. I'm an old timer. I use Excel spreadsheets, and what I like about them is I'll take my collection in to the Numismatic Society, along with the printed out Excel spreadsheets I have. I'll do an evaluation, a personal evaluation. I'm an evaluator. I'm not a grader. I'll go to a coin show and I'll sit down and I'll evaluate what a coin's approximate value is, and by doing that, I can actually sit down with fellow collectors and dealers, and they can confirm that my estimate is close. And that way, when I look up the approximate value, I can put it into my spreadsheets, so that if for insurance purposes, you have an idea how much the coin is worth and the total value of your collection, which is part of our hobby that a lot of collectors tend to neglect. And I think anybody is wise to do something along that lines to make sure that's good. And if you get a high value coin, I am worthy of an upper tier grading company. I would strongly recommend that you have them graded. I've never ever seen a Phoenician or Carthaginian coin. That would be very cool. That's a really interesting history. The war on Carthage and the impact Phoenician traders had on the Mediterranean is very cool. I'm sure someone out there has them, but again, I've never collected them, so I can't say that I've actually even seen one. I've seen a lot of Greek, I've seen a lot of Roman, and but never seen any Phoenician or Carthaginian. That's one that's out there. You're gonna make me rise. Where's mine? Oh, okay. Where's my bank notes? Where'd I put you? I've got more books than Carter has pills. Oh, that's why I'm looking in the wrong spot. This is the one that I use right here. And it's quite old. It's old enough where the copyright's in Roman numerals. I'm going to say, oh my goodness, is that 50? Oh, not that bad. It's 1980. So it's getting up there. But like I was saying, if you have old banknotes, you know, these are very handy to have. Yeah, those are good. So if none of you have any other questions, we'll round this live feed off. And again, as time goes on, I will look at getting guests to come on and whatnot, and I'll try to become a little more smooth when it comes to delivering the historical side of the feeds. Yeah, one thing I will say about the Canadian banknotes, copper coins, is that the earlier notes, when they were still paper, they're beautiful notes. You get back into the the 1900s, and they're absolutely phenomenal looking notes. The artwork is what I look at. I mean, you take a look at some of those notes, and they're just gorgeous. Okay, that's different. What do you think? I'm going to go on a trip somewhere? No, I don't have my sextant. I don't have my any maps on me at the moment. But what are those coordinates for? Oh, that is cool. That is very cool. That's the approximate location of Fort Dollard. That is really awesome. That's a good share. Let's bring that up one more time. There you go. Yeah, that's, if I remember correctly, the Mountie note where they're all making the musical ride. I think that was one of the last notes before we started getting into the polymers. Those polymer notes they're absolutely gorgeous notes, and yeah, you don't have a problem with putting them in the washing machine as long as you remember to get them before they go in the dryer, because polymer really shrinks nice. But there are some very nice, and the other thing with the Canadian dollars is that they've been experimenting with the various effigies on them, and even the way they line them up, so that we've actually got people showing up where they're now sideways and vertical instead of horizontal. Yeah, it's wonderful. And speak of the devil, this is one of my cohorts. He's definitely wonderful to see him on board. And actually, now that he is here, see if I can do this. That's great stuff. There we go. Yeah, Austrian Stacker is very busy. He's still a working stiff. Oh, that's right too. You're in Ireland. I've been catching some of your videos that you've been posting and pictures. Very nice. That's definitely something I want to do. I can trace myself. I can honestly say that I am a Dublin Scot. And for those of you that don't know that history, Dublin Scots are the Scottish that were sent over in the day to fill a niche that the British monarch wanted to establish a part of his kingdom over there, and they intermarried and whatnot. But they were actually from Scotland, and of course you find them in and around Northern Ireland. Uh, forgive my mispronunciation, but my family comes from Fermanagh. Oh, someone's going to have to verbalize that one for me because the words are just skipping me. And then there's Dale sneaking in there. Hello, Dale. No, a distinctive Canadian accent. Well, almighty, how are you doing? By the Lord, Lipton. Yeah, those are my buddies that I'll be working closely with as soon as we get ourselves together and figure out what we want to do. That love seeing them on board. But yeah, we've touched on to quite a bit of history today. The siege of Long Sault, which I've always been fascinated with, but again, trying to get the details on what went on and the motivating factors and stuff. It's tough to get it all in an hour or so, but there's much more than what's taught in the schools. That's the thing that we're looking at, and the fact that Canada was not historically as peaceful as a lot of people think it was. We're not. It's surprising the massacres and the violence that went on in early Canada. Well, I'm having coffee, but I do have a Guinness sitting up in my fridge, but that's for special occasions. How's Chip? I ate him. Well, it better be the crisps and not. Goofball. My gosh. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh my goodness gracious. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to be doing this at least the live feed at least once a week, but look for my shorts and my videos every single day. I'm going to do a different coin every single day. But what I'm looking for is that individuals I want people to start doing their own homework. I mean, I know what a lot of this information is, but when I put up a coin, and it's the challenge, I'm giving you this challenge. I want you to find out as much information that you can and share it with everybody. Now, once you do that, at the end of every 7 days, I'm going to look them over, and whoever has done the most work, I'm going to send you a channel sticker. Yeah, it's not a fancy silver coin. I'm sure you'd like that too, but I'm not a rich old bugger. I'm just an old salt that's having some fun with you. And if we happen to learn something from it, great. If you, I want you to get used to doing the research if you haven't already done that sort of thing. And in my case, on Canadian coins, we'll try to stay away from the except of course when Dale and Roman, they come up here and they do their thing about their countries. They can do what they want to do with theirs. But for me, I want you to learn as much you can about Canada and the Canadian coins that I share with you. Yeah, one day I'm going to get over there and I'm going to try some of that stuff. Not a lot though, because I got to stay away from the alcohol. It's not that I'm hooked on the stuff. It's just my liver can't handle it anymore. Yeah. All right. So today I start my physiotherapy. I want to get back to jogging. No, I won't be jogging. I'm going to get back to getting some walking without the walker. I do a lot of metal detecting, but it's very hard to do metal detecting when you have to walk around a field with it. Actually, it looks funny too. So I'm hoping to uh, deal with those issues and get back so I can do some traveling again and enjoy life, because quality of life, you want to be able to be ambulatory, as they say. Yeah, it is a good challenge there, copper owl coins. I want people to start um, uh, doing more than just throwing coins in a jar. I want them to start uh, doing research on them, cataloging them, displaying them. As you see in the background here, I'm a firm believer in if you have special things you want to display, go ahead, as long as you practice security, especially if you're in the home. And I know it sounds preposterous, but if you display coins in your home, you should have at least 7 levels of security. Otherwise, you end up sticking your stuff in safe deposit boxes or heavy duty safes where you can't enjoy them anymore. I enjoy my collections, and that's a big part of enjoying the hobby, is being able to have friends over and say, hey, look this. And it looks like, my wife thinks it looks like a bloody museum down here, but it's my space. Which is fine. A marathon? Yeah, I don't think so. The only marathon I do is the 6 weeks I work near Christmas, and that's enough. And even then, most of the day I'm sitting in a seat. Oh, you had to bring that up, Dale. Oh man, that's why I have the lock. All the cases are locked. I have the lock on the. It's unusual to have a keyed lock inside the house. My room has got a keyed lock because my wife smokes, and when she runs low, and she doesn't have her own pocket change. Thank God, she's become quite the hoarder for money too. But what in days gone by, she'd run low and she'd go, "Oh, hubby's got money. He's not home, but let's check and see what I can find." Well, one day she went in and she found my coin books and got into my toonies, and she picked enough to get 2 packs of cigarettes, which are not cheap, and she bought cigarettes with them, and it cost me $300 to replace the bloody things. So, yeah, that's right. Drop her name. Yeah. So now I physically had to take her to the coin shop, and I had some extra silver dollars, and I brought them in, and I brought her up to the counter. I says, "Okay, honey, here's like I think I had 5 silver dollars." I said, "How much money you have there?" She says, $5. Okay, so I went and I sold them in front of her, and her eyes just about popped out of her head. She says, "You cannot look at the value on the currency. That you got to look at the value, the precious metal content, and what kind of coin it is. What do you think you're going to get for it?" So suddenly she's going, "Wow, that's quite the eye opener." Okay, so ever since then she's left my collection alone. Knock on wood. Well, she's a lot better now. She's and most of the ideas, again, she has started to she denies it, but she collects quite a bit, including just about every silver pour. Yeah, I got another one in, Dale, and it didn't take very long for it to disappear upstairs. So yeah, she's added to her little collection. Um, Jason sent me the Bass Reeves silver. It was, I thought it was only going to be like a token or something. He sent me a silver Bass Reeves round. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And Tracy, I got whiplash. She grabbed that so fast, and she's got a little stand on her counter right next to her sword in the stone. But then I discovered that she swiped my cash box. I had a cash box here. I usually use it for garage sales and stuff, but excess coins. Now I'm instead of having a proper cash box, I have to as I collect commemoratives and stuff. We have desserts over here that I get from Costco that they come in these little things. What do you do with them after the dessert's eaten, right? Well, I put them in all the different ones that collectible. So I'm always looking at change, and as I collect them, then I make them available, which is kind of nice. And yeah, and oh, by the way, Dale, as soon as you have a new address, I'll send you some stuff out. I got it sitting here, just waiting for you, so that it's not going to get lost. And there's my friend Blistering Barnacle Adventures. Check this guy out. If you want to relax and want to go on a bike ride, he'll take it. Maybe he'll even throw on ET with you. Noah's back. Yeah. Oh, and congratulations, Coin World UK. The latest survey shows that you're way ahead as far as popularity goes, people visiting your channel. You must be doing something. Probably Spirograph. I don't know. Of course, Noah's World's there. It's wonderful. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, gee, what time is it? Gentlemen, I'm going to have to take your leave. I'm going to go, and I'm going to be poked and prodded in physiotherapy this afternoon. Hopefully, they put on some heat and respond, and I can have a nap. And as long as they don't bend and twist this old guy out of shape. But this is my first one I've had in many, many moons. So keep an eye out for the various shorts and videos that I'll be putting out over the course. My 4-month hiatus is over, and I will make sure that there's content going out there. Let people know that we're back, and right now, until I get confirmation from my partners in crime, 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time every Monday, I will pop in here, and I will do another video on the dark side of Canadian history and touch on different types of coins in our wonderful numismatic world. Yeah, I'm fully aware of that. That's why we're giving you that grace period, because you got more important things to worry about. Well, let's see. Noah, I'm going to make you blue. There you go. And put your link in. Anybody's got any links you want for your channels, please do. And do support one another. There's a lot of good channels out there. There you go. I knew I'd subscribe to you some time ago. That's good. Really? Looking around for bad drivers? I just have to look out my front door. Yeah. Austrian Stacker puts out some good stuff too. Yeah. And by the way, happy Memorial Day to all those in the United States. As a Canadian, I was really surprised to see how Memorial Day actually started. And it's quite a bit different than ours in the Commonwealth. But it's interesting reading. If I put a little bit on there, but there's a lot more detail if you want to look up and find out what Memorial Day is all about, why they have it on top of having Remembrance Day. And Remembrance Day is a complete, it's quite a bit different in the historical start. So with that, I am signing off. I've got just enough time to get myself ready. And I do wish you all the best. And we will catch you all later. Take care, everybody.